The gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Casten, who is also the Vice Chair of the Subcommittee on Investor Protection, Entrepreneurship, and Capital Markets, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Ray, thank you so much for this. I'm struck by a lot here, not least Mr. Perlmutter's comment that this is going to take a long time to untangle. Maybe your comment to Mr. Lucas that this is a paperless bankruptcy saves you time because you run out of paper, but I appreciate your service. A bunch of questions. One, I just want to clarify because it's all been implicit. All this bankruptcy is dollar denominated, correct? So as you go through to chase down values?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I ask that because we've talked about commingling, we've talked about customer losses. There's been some public reporting suggesting that there may have been some inflation or misrepresentation of the value of FTT tokens. Is that, and I'm not asking you to opine on that right now, but to the extent there is some customer loss claimed from that, is that also one of the categories of losses you're going after?
Well, FTT, I'm sorry, was on that balance sheet of Alameda, and it certainly was served as effectively sort of collateral, and it was largely controlled by Alameda, so it was a very illiquid token. It was effectively a token created, by the company itself with a limited float. So, inherent in the the token itself was the illiquidity, and certainly the size of the position the company had in its own token, contributed to this problem.
But if a customer were to buy that token at some value that because of its illiquidity could be manipulated, would the customer not effectively be sitting on, for lack of a better word, a Forex risk?
Well, there's certainly, all the crypto, like any asset, it has a certain volatility to it, and some are more volatile than others, and FTT was very volatile.
Sure, and I'm just, to the extent that the volatility is natural, it's fine. To the extent it's manipulated, separate. Let me move on because we're close on time. There's been, in a number of the public conversations that Sam Bankman-Fried has had, when asked about commingling, he often responds by talking about open margin positions. I want to just give you a chance to react to the difference between an open margin position and the commingling that you've observed.
I'm not sure exactly, I tried to follow some of what his statements were, and it was very, very hard to really understand what he was really trying to say. We do know that they had open margin positions at various times in Alameda, and Alameda was a customer, if you will, of the exchange, and it's through that customer relationship plus other arrangements that allowed Alameda to borrow those funds and then take positions on the exchange like anyone who would hedge an asset in the market. He had unusually large positions, of course, and sometimes they were wrong in those positions and they resulted in big losses. But ultimately, the commingling issue is the same in a different issue. He took the money from FTX to cover those positions, and ultimately, when customers went to get their money back from .com, there was a run on the bank.
Okay. On November 12th, I guess just the second day or the first day you were there,
Yes.
there was a hacker who stole some $477 million worth of tokens from FTX. There was a November 29th interview with Mr. Bankman-Fried with Tiffany Fong when he said he's narrowed it down to like 8 people, quote. Have you had any discussions with him? Do you have any sense of do you have any more visibility since November 12th on that hack? Have you had conversations with him about who those 8 people might be? What's your, it's $477 million.
I've not had any conversations with him. We're relying on forensic and cybersecurity experts who are tracking the crypto. It is an open interface, so you can see, you can ultimately find where the crypto ends up. We've had law enforcement involved, so we're tracking it. I think we've got all the help we need in that front.
Okay. As I get close on the end of my time here, so far it seems like most of the losses have been within these 4 silos, and 2.7 million customers, whatever that means, is some exposure. Are you worried about any broader contagion? Are there broader contagion issues we should worry about from our perspective here? Certainly other bankruptcies of this scale have spilled into other sectors.
Look, I think the industry, we've made a number of investments in the crypto sector. If you look at that portfolio of $5 billion dollars. One of our major investments, top 20 investments were in the crypto sector. So it's a very trying time for the crypto sector, and what I worry about is the impairment to that portfolio of $5 billion, because obviously that's a recovery pool for our customers.
Thank you. Yield back.